What's up, everyone? We are live with episode 4 of Pause for Popcorn. Pause for Popcorn is a weekly TV and movie podcast that airs every Tuesday at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern Time, live on YouTube, except for the Tuesdays when it doesn't air, like twice last month. I'm trying to make this a regular thing. If you missed the live show, it's archived on our channel. It also goes up on SoundCloud and iTunes the following day in audio format. So make sure you subscribe to all that stuff, and you won't miss any of this amazing content. If this is your first time listening, this isn't a news podcast. We basically pick one or two topics a week and just talk about them with our rotating panel of guests, keep things fresh. So this week that happens to be 2 reviews. We're going to talk about Alien Covenant, a.k.a. Prometheus 2, a.k.a. Michael Fassbender Origins, and we're going to talk about Wonder Woman, the latest release in the critically acclaimed DC Extended Universe. So with that, let's get to introducing our guests here. We got Samuel. You want Sam or Samuel?
Samuel, either one's fine.
The less syllables, the better. We got Sam and Chris here. What's up, guys? How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Pretty good.
Going pretty well.
Is that Jay that just popped in the nick of time?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, wow. We just started. Good timing. What's up, man?
Not much. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. Great. So why don't you guys, we'll start with Jay. Do you guys want to just kind of introduce yourselves, give a little 30-minute pitch, and we're going to do something. I'm going to give each of you the opportunity to shill any movie, any like entertainment franchise or TV show you want, if you want to recommend to people. So go ahead, Jay.
My name is Jay. I'm from the Super Deformed Gamecast. My Twitter handle's @Cheddus because I have the cheesiest opinion on games. And I actually just got done watching Riverdale, the whole first season, and I highly recommend it. It's a great show. So go watch it. It's on Netflix now.
Cool. Sam, how about you?
So, I'm Sam Tolbert. I am a co-host on the Basement Radio Arcade podcast. I'm also the assistant editor-in-chief of Real Game Media, a entertainment news, gaming news, reviews, and opinion pieces website. So you can come check that out. And anyone who knows me should see this coming a mile away. But if you haven't, The Witcher 3 is the greatest game released this generation. You need to play it. So go play it.
I can confirm. I'm doing a second playthrough right now, about 30 hours deep. It's amazing.
I'm keeping a close eye on your timeline. It fills me with pride.
Excellent. Good stuff. Hey, Chris.
Hey, I'm Chris. My Twitter handle's @TimerChris. I'm a co-host of the Time Bat Show, which is just a pop culture podcast. We talk about movies and video games and the like. And I'm trying to think of something to shill. I just love everything so much. I can't have one that I don't want to pick a favorite son or anything like that. So nothing.
That's fair. We all know it's Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Sorry, I forgot to say that's my favorite movie of all time.
No disrespect if someone likes that movie. That's fine. Everyone.
The intro is my favorite intro to a movie ever.
All right. So we'll get started here. We got 2 movies we're going to talk about: Alien Covenant and Wonder Woman. I believe we have. I've seen both of them, and we have 2 each of you guys who've seen them. So if you haven't seen the movie, we're not going to give away anything crucial. We have to dig into a little bit of the events to obviously have a good discussion. For people listening or watching, if you're super sensitive to any sort of spoiler, you might want to wait till you've watched them both, unless you just don't care. I'm going to try to only talk about stuff that's expected or seen in the trailers. I'm not going to give away the endings or give you context for the order in which things happen, but we can't be too vague, especially with Alien, because there's a lot to talk about here. So that's your warning. We're going to talk about this. So Alien Covenant is... the Alien series is becoming a little bit messy. It used to just be pretty straightforward. So
Yeah.
we had Alien... The first 2 Aliens came out relatively close to each other. The first one was more of a... straight-up horror film directed by Ridley Scott, and then James Cameron had his action follow-up Aliens. Both of them are extremely highly regarded, albeit very different movies at times. There was the flawed Alien 3, which I do think has a decent assembly cut that's kind of unfinished that Fincher was working on, but it seems to be the consensus that was messed up due to studio interference. So that one and then Resurrection are kind of the 2 black sheep of the franchise. And then we took a long break and jumped ahead to Prometheus a few years back. I think that was 2012. So Prometheus is a prequel to the series, which at face value promised to explore the origins of something called the Space Jockey. From the first Alien. When they enter the alien ship, there's kind of this big skeletal figure sitting there, and there's no explanation given from. It's not a focus at all. It's just kind of there. And they decided, hey, that'd be a cool story to tell. So Alien Covenant is kind of serving as the sequel to Covenant and a prequel to the Alien movies. And we'll get into why it kind of succeeds and kind of doesn't. But I just wanted to set that up for maybe people that aren't too familiar with the franchise. So Sam and Chris, you guys both saw the movie. What's your immediate impressions? Did you like it, dislike it?
Okay.
Go ahead.
You go first, dude. You go first.
All right. Well, I'll get this out of the way because I actually liked it a fair amount, which is, I know a lot of people were a little disappointed by it. I guess I would say I liked it better than Prometheus. I actually liked Prometheus decently. I know a lot of people had an issue with that too, but I did like Covenant more than Prometheus. And Covenant is now sitting probably around Alien 3 for me in around the same level as Alien 3 for me as in regards to how I rank it in the series. Obviously not touching 1 or 2 at all. But like you said, it's definitely it feels like half a Prometheus sequel and half an Alien mainline thing, very hardcore, especially with the amount of scene time they devote to we got to be a Prometheus sequel and talk about all the weird stuff Prometheus talked about, and then we need a lot of alien scenes as well. Mm-hmm. So it definitely feels like that. But I liked it a fair amount. So yeah.
John in the chat says Sam get a fucking haircut.
Never.
John, we do not know how old this picture is. Sam, what do you think of the movie?
Okay, so straight off the bat, I have to say that I really, really, really liked Prometheus, and I will defend that film. So that's a full disclaimer right out there.
High praise.
Yes, so I enjoyed Alien Covenant. I have a couple of nitpicks. I actually, it's not nitpicks. I have some problems with it, specifically in terms of not it as a film, but what it means for the greater lore, because there's a couple of things that I think you guys probably know what I'm talking about. It's kind of difficult to rectify with the film franchise as a whole. I don't know if it's very difficult to talk about that without spoiling it, so I'm trying to be careful. But I enjoyed it overall, especially, it does blend elements of, like a Prometheus sequel and Alien, but I think it's closer to 70% Prometheus 2 and 30% a new Alien. Particularly, it's Prometheus in the first 2 acts and it's Alien in the 3rd act.
Yeah, I would say that too, yeah, for sure.
And I guess that's where I'll jump in and kind of give my take on it. I think Prometheus, I'm with you guys. I really like Prometheus quite a bit. It's by no means a perfect movie. It's by no means the level of quality filmmaking that the first couple films are. But it's, I call it a hot mess. It's a gorgeous film. It has some really great ideas. It's got some great performances, of course, especially from Fassbender, who's also great in Covenant. And it does a lot of interesting stuff with the mythology. I think the flaws of that in Covenant, which maybe aren't problems with the movies, but more just a personal annoyance, is I don't need everything explained, and I find when they go and do prequels like these, it takes away some of the mystery. I kind of like in the first Alien, you don't know anything about how the ship got there, how the aliens got there. It's just they stumbled on this kind of part of space that no one really knew and was unexpected. And when you try to fill in every little hole, not only does it take that mystery away, it also creates some interesting problems that they're going to have to... They have a lot to explain if they do another movie that bridges this in Alien, because there's some questions that I'll bring up there. But I think Prometheus and Covenant are at their best when they're exploring the creationist creator themes and actually getting away from Alien. I find when they try to go back into the origins of the xenomorph, that's when it falls a little bit flat, and I just don't think it's needed. I think these movies can be interesting enough on their own that you can have some more subtle ties and world building in the background, but I don't know that you need to be shoving that stuff in our face, because the core concepts here are a really good premise.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Another thing is like you said yourself, like when they try to explore the history of the xenomorph and all that stuff, I feel like they have this kind of fan base that's kind of split in a way. Like part of them wants to continue the Prometheus storyline, and the other is like, well, Prometheus didn't really answer where the xenomorphs came from, so Covenant has to. So they kind of feel like, oh, well, we have to shoehorn this into the movie, kind of for better or worse. Where I agree, it kind of makes it for worse because like it is in its element when it's exploring the themes of Prometheus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Xenomorph is the mascot of the Alien franchise after all, so you gotta include it somehow.
No, absolutely. And I mean, it is called the Alien Covenant. It's not called Prometheus 2, to be clear. So,
do you guys think they should have called it Prometheus 2? Is Alien Covenant a little
I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's misleading necessarily, especially given at least what they were trying to do for the lore, but I would have been perfectly happy with just Covenant as the title.
Yeah, I think I would have been too.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been perfectly happy with it, and I think it would have made any presence of the xenomorphs, frankly, more foreboding and more ominous and more, oh my lord, are they actually going down this route? Is this actually a thing? Is it not? That sort of thing.
So it's like a secret sequel to Alien, you don't really know going in.
An open secret, but we know they're
Right.
coming. When are they coming? If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna go over the premise of the film again. If anyone's super sensitive to spoilers, we're gonna give a vague outline of the events that start the movie. So we've got the crew of the Covenant. They're en route to it's a colonization mission sorry, my memory's terrible, so if I make a mistake, you guys can jump in and correct me.
Well, it opens with David.
Sorry, okay, yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of a spoiler. I didn't want to.
That's okay. No, that scene is in the trailer, but I don't want to talk about what the scene is because that's actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's really interesting.
I
the way
agree.
they set that up. But basically, the movie opens. We've got a ship from Earth, the Covenant, on a colonization mission. About 2,000 colonists. I think it's a 7-year trip, and a lot of parallels to the first Alien. They're woken up early. There's a kind of event that happens that triggers them awake, and they come across a signal from a planet they're unfamiliar with. I believe they are informed that it's viable, that it's kind of healthy and like a habitable planet. So they go down.
It's actually more habitable than the planet that they were aiming for.
Yeah. So the bulk
dumb luck kind of thing.
the bulk of the movie takes place on this planet, and I think when they start to land is where you guys want to talk about the stuff we like or the stuff we didn't like first. What do you want to get out of the way?
So, it's kind of difficult either way. I would say I enjoy getting the stuff we didn't like out of the way first. That's me.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
So a big problem people had with Prometheus is that you have a bunch of what you would assume would be intelligent people sent on these important missions, scientists, captains, engineers, astronauts, and they made really dumb decisions. Now, I'm one to I defend this in movies a lot. I maybe it's a cop-out defense, but people make stupid decisions in the heat of the moment. They do bad choices under pressure. People aren't perfect, but sometimes it's just so distracting. And I think for Prometheus, a lot of people just couldn't wrap their heads around what these characters were doing. And
Prometheus was a little egregious, particularly like with the scientists poking at that one creature in the cave. That one was like, no, dude, come on, stop.
I think Covenant's a little better, but there's still some problems. For example, they land on the planet, and a group of people decide to just exit the spaceship without any sort of exosuit, spacesuit. They basically just stroll out in their Sunday clothes. Maybe they checked it out and all the readings told them it was safe to breathe. I still would have taken some precautions. But
see, the thing is, we would have taken precautions, but we say that knowing what kind of film we're watching. They had just suffered some traumatic loss. They were reeling, under the new leadership, and they were also dealing with the fact of, oh, this place is supposedly better. Presumably the planet they were on the way to would have had a breathable atmosphere. Yeah, people don't assume the kinds of creatures you run into in an alien film are standard fare.
Yeah, the other thing I like to say with justifying like horror movies a lot is they've never seen an alien movie, but we all have as the audience. So it's like they're making all these stupid decisions that may seem stupid to us because we've seen Alien 1 and Alien 2 and Alien 3 and all the other ones, but they have no idea what they're getting into. So I do think the helmet thing is particularly silly, but
And it's definitely less egregious than Prometheus. I think we can all agree on that.
For sure.
Yeah, and even I mean, a lot of people took issue with the spores. They're kind of, one of them steps on some spores, one of them rubs some spores. But again, it's no in their context, they don't know what happened to Prometheus. This takes place before the Alien movies, so as far as they're concerned, there's no awareness of this plague or this disease or these monsters. And like, I guess it's difficult sometimes for the viewer to separate themselves from the universe, but and space travel seems to be normal for them. It's no different than us flying to another country, basically. Would we wear a full-on mask in case there's some sort of disease we're not familiar with there? A lot of people probably wouldn't. So,
Yeah, that's true.
That stuff can get a pass. I guess, do you guys want to talk, anyone can jump in, what other issues did you have with the movie?
So, my issue, like, this is kind of, cut me off if I'm treading spoiler territory here, is the back and forth durability of the neomorphs. The new creatures, like, now please correct me if I'm wrong, one of them got shot multiple times with what appeared to be like an assault rifle and a shotgun, and it didn't really seem to do all that much. And then one of them later on was shot just a couple of times to most definitely great effect. And so that kind of bugged me, being honest.
But, I mean, I guess where was the it's hard to tell in the quick cuts. Maybe one was shot in the arms, the limbs, and one took a shot right in the head.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a minor thing. That's not a huge thing, but it did stick with me.
My brain justified that without trying to spoil it. The first time they saw one, they were like, what the hell is this thing? And they were a little more panicked. The second time, it was more of a direct, like, shot, I guess. So, I don't know. I didn't, like, really notice that at all. But I can see where I can see where you're coming from, for sure.
The one...
yeah.
So you guys mentioned the inconsistencies there. One thing that bothered me is the inconsistencies with regards to the previously established alien life cycle. I don't think this is too much of a spoiler. There's aliens in this movie. It's called Alien Covenant. The Xenomorph is in the trailer. You know the Xenomorph's in here. We saw them at the end of Prometheus. There's some strange things. Xenomorphs are now, they come out as a mini Xenomorph instead of a chest burster. And that's not really explained at the end of the movie, so either something happens in between now and the first Alien where that gets introduced, and I can't talk about how the full nature of the Xenomorph is a spoiler, so I won't get into that. But it's going to be interesting to see if that's just retconned. That seems like a glaring omission.
See,
yeah, it seems like there's going to
like
be a big gap between the next two, right? But we don't really know.
I feel like I have a really good explanation for it, but the problem is it is full-blown spoiler territory.
Yeah.
There is no way to discuss it without going there. But I do think there's a way of justifying it.
Do you think it's intentional? Do you think that's something they're going to do in the next film if they do another one?
It seemed obvious to me, but I'm not going to try and apply that to the average viewer.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. What did you guys think of, I guess, the... Yeah, this is hard to do without spoilers. The middle...
We're going to have to make some concessions here.
Okay.
We really are.
Can I say what I like before we get into the spoiler territory? In the beginning of the film,
Yeah.
The first encounters with the neomorphs, which were they're featured in the trailer. They're the new white kind of alien-looking things. The first encounter with them, I thought those like sequence of scenes were really, really great. Like I thought they were really
very
tense
fast-paced
and great. Yeah, like probably the highlight of the movie from like a classic Alien, sense for me. And then the end was kind of more actiony, and it was still good, but it wasn't as strong as that initial kind of discovery of those life forms. Yeah, but we can get into the weird middle of the movie.
Yeah, I want to talk about the stuff we liked, and all my favorite stuff is kind of in that second act. So, again, I want to viewer discretion. I don't consider this major spoilers. We're going to talk about the basic premise of the middle part of the movie. So, Michael Fassbender has a big role in this. David is back from Prometheus, but obviously since David's a synthetic, basically an android, there's a newer model, Walter, also in the movie. So you actually get double Fassbender. And he does such a good job at playing both these characters the same yet different, and really, it really sells the themes they have of the creator and the creationism. Oh man, what?
It's hard to do without spoilers.
Yeah, it really is.
He's the highlight of the movie. Though,
Yeah,
for
so
sure,
basically
Fassbender.
the team gets on this planet and encounters David, and I won't tell you the details of what happens. But man, you guys try and talk about it. I'm having trouble here dancing around.
Well,
it.
there's a lot.
I mean,
of,
he steals
ahead.
whatever scene he's in. For starters,
He
that's
does.
just an obvious. He's the
does.
immediate highlight. Walter, it's very interesting because I don't think this is a spoiler. Like, Walter has reduced emotions, if he has any at all, because he's meant to be
less-
more of a docile
He's
worker.
less human, I guess you could say, than David.
And it's like having that in the same scene, in the same scenery, interacting with other Michael Fassbender, with David, who is the complete opposite, who has gone full-blown emotions and almost foregoing logic for the sake of his own goals, sort of kind of stuff. Like, that contrast is just incredible to see on the screen.
And it's cool, having watched Prometheus kind of in his lead-up, David's obviously heavily in that movie. And if you'll notice in that movie, he's, like, incredibly curious because he's, like, trying to, like, discover the whole biology of these new life forms and all that stuff. In Covenant, he's less curious and more just like ambitious. Like he wants to like control everything, and he wants to like be better than humanity and stuff like that. And I feel like that's kind of the central gist of the movie. There, he wants a lot from the remainder of his life. I guess you could say.
I guess that's almost why I take issue with the Alien title, because I feel like this isn't as much an Alien movie as it is a David movie. The opening scene of the movie, like you discussed, is David, and that ties directly into the core plot of the film. His desire as an android or as a synthetic to kind of have that creation and that contribute something to the universe, contribute something to the world that he's in a way he can't organically. So that's really interesting.
And the other interesting thing about the beginning of the movie, without spoiling it too much, is he's like introduced as like this android, and it's kind of a flashback thing, but you could tell that he is, acting in a way that he like wants to know more about the world and wants to like create things. But it's like the point is driven home. It's like, no, you're an android. You're still made to like serve humanity, and that kind of sets up kind of the rest of the movie where he's like, I'm almost better than, I feel like I'm better than humanity or whatever, Which is interesting because Ridley Scott, touched on that in Blade Runner, so, it's another kind of tie-in, but yeah.
Seb, is there anything you wanted to add?
Not really. So I'm going to be as vague as possible here. I think the final scene that Walter and David are in together, at least to me, was very unexpected and very refreshing. It was a nice change up of the pacing, and it was very enjoyable because you weren't really sure how that was going to go.
Yeah,
for sure. There was a couple scenes between them, but every one of them was riveting. And
there was one in particular that I don't want to spoil, but when they like first meet for the first time,
I know exactly what you're talking
teaching
about. My theater was extremely uncomfortable in that scene.
I love that.
I loved it
I think
too.
every theater was.
But unexpected is definitely the right word for that. You go to watch an alien movie and you don't. That's not what you're thinking.
You don't expect 2 minutes of that. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, obviously we can't talk about the ending too much because that's where the biggest spoilers are going to come in. It kind of goes a little more traditional action or horror at the end. And
it does.
I don't have an issue with a lot of it. There was some really cool scenes. I thought the CGI was a little dodgy at times. But I can overlook that. The shower scene was very, I thought, out of place. I don't know if Ridley just threw that in there as some sort of homage to horror films, but it was like, and this is in the trailer, this isn't a spoiler, there's two people just boning in a shower.
It seemed to me like we have an R rating, we may as well do it.
Yeah, I guess so.
It seemed egregious and like, really, like we all know what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Come on.
Also, like we need a easy way to kill, these people right now. So let's do this.
Get a twofer. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
I liked the end, but like you said, it did kind of go in that action horror kind of thing.
I just thought the end wasn't as interesting as the rest of the movie to me.
No, definitely not.
But the final
Definitely.
shot with that music was
Oh
amazing.
yeah, that was great.
Haunting.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely haunting.
Yeah. So
The absolute ending is great.
Yeah, it is. And it has interesting implications for the rest of the guest series if they're making more. I don't know, but we'll see.
yeah, Ridley.
Well, my understanding is Ridley Scott has full creative control at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he is the future of the series.
Pushed Neil Blomkamp out that window, took the room back over. He's the teacher again. So
Yeah.
we'll see. All right, well, I want to move on to Wonder Woman soon. Before we wrap this up, I'm gonna let each of you guys give it a rating. You can give it. So we'll give you 3 options. I don't know how you guys like to rate your movies. You can give it 1 or 2 thumbs. You can give it a rating out of 5 stars or a rating out of 10. Sam, how about you?
It's very difficult to say. I would say somewhere around like a 7 out of 10 to a like maybe a 3.5 to 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and it goes without saying it's head and shoulders better than like the AVP films or Resurrection and I'm gonna say this, like I may get some flack. I think it was better than 3. I'm not particularly a great fan of 3.
I think it slightly edges out 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Obviously, it doesn't touch Alien or Aliens, but at the same time, given what they did for the franchise, I don't think anything ever will.
Yeah.
So it has some problems that bring it down here and there, but overall, it's a very good addition to the franchise.
Yep.
Chris?
I'm gonna say I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I liked it a lot.
That's good.
Now that we talk about it more, I think it's my 3rd favorite in the whole franchise. I think I like it more than 3, and I definitely like it more than Prometheus. Although I do like Prometheus a lot, but I think it's a good blend of Prometheus and Alien. It's interesting now that we're talking about it. I think I like Alien Covenant more for the fact that it's a Prometheus sequel than an Alien sequel, though. So it's interesting to hear me say, "Oh yeah, it's my 3rd favorite Alien movie," but it's not really. It's my 1st favorite Prometheus movie.
It's interesting how that works.
It is. It is.
I agree.
Riley Scott, you pull the wool over my eyes, I guess. I don't know.
We've got some major salt from Dio in the chat. Alien 3 sucks. Not a difficult thing to do.
Alien 3 is a weird movie. I don't know if we've time to talk about that. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just going to say this about Alien 3 really, really quick, if that's okay. I thought that it was like common knowledge that it sucked because all my friends like didn't particularly care for it. I thought it was like okay at best. I get a lot of flack whenever I bring up the fact that I don't like it. I don't know. Maybe the greater culture out there enjoys it. Who knows?
I think it's a good idea for a movie. It has a really cool premise, but it's just not executed super well. But I think I give it some leeway because I like the premise so much.
So it's kind of like Star Wars Episode 1 of the Alien franchise.
Yeah, kind of.
But better.
Way better than that.
I like Episode 1, but we're not going to go there today.
Oh god, that's an entire episode. All right. Well, I really liked it too. I'm close to the Sam. I think I give it like a 7.5. I need to rewatch Prometheus again. I haven't seen that in a year or two. I'm not sure whichever. I like them both for different reasons. But I really, really did like a lot of the things Covenant did. I just if they could have tightened up a couple other things and not tried to explain everything and didn't force the connections as much, I think it would have dug it a bit more. But so we all recommend it. That's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely worth seeing.
Yep.
So we're going to play a quick little game before we move on to Wonder Woman. If you guys could pick any action movie franchise to combine with the Alien universe.
Oh, wow.
Jay, you can answer this. What would you pick?
Blade Runner is a little too obvious because it's Ridley Scott. I'm going to go with the Fast and Furious franchise.
Dang it, you beat me.
They did. I think one of the writers said he's looking at going to space.
For Fast and Furious 9, we can call it Too Fast to Planet 9 and Xenomorph. And Van Diesel's transformed into Xenomorph at this point.
Because why the heck not?
Yeah, why the heck not?
And The Rock is in it, though, right? Of course. He's like the headliner.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It'd be like that Mortal Kombat XL game where it's just The Rock versus Xenomorph.
I'm gonna give it to Die
Watch it.
Hard. I wouldn't mind seeing John McClane trapped on a space station against a bunch of aliens.
That is a great idea, actually, now that I think about it. Because it's a similar premise, right? The original Alien is like, oh, I'm trapped in this thing with, obviously one alien, but Die Hard's, he's trapped with a bunch of terrorists, and, oh man, that would be a great movie. Oh, man.
Okay. Since Fast and Furious got stolen from right under my feet, I'm going to go with The Expendables because I think it would be the ultimate cheesy popcorn flick for a bunch of well past their prime, action heroes to be going up against just a planet absolutely filled to the brim with Xenos, making terrible puns and references the entire time. It's like, yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Oh,
that could
this is-
work. Well,
yeah,
Shane
that's
Black is
good.
making a new Predator movie, so we'll see.
The alien could, yeah, that'll be fine. God, this is really hard. Okay, only one of the movies in this franchise is good, but Alien and then Jaws combined, and they're like in the water and stuff.
Oh, like we know the aliens can swim because in Resurrection there's like
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't talk about Resurrection, see.
Okay, sorry.
But no, no,
Oh,
it's fine.
touchy subject.
But yeah, the aliens come down and they can breathe, and they're in like, I don't know, they're in New Jersey or wherever, and Jaws is. And
Or
yeah.
Pacific Rim
So,
ship,
like,
there's a rift
Yeah.
opens
What if
up
it was
and-
like an underwater station, completely
Oh, there you
sealed
go.
off, the Xenos can't get in,
Oh.
but the outside is completely filled to the brim, and the only way out is through the water.
So it's kind of like Deep Blue Sea-ish, right?
That could actually work. Like,
Yeah.
you got me thinking here.
Okay, I'm on board. This is actually a good idea. I did not expect anything positive to come from it. Oh wow! All right, well that'll do it for Alien. Let's move on to Wonder Woman. So sorry, Chris, I know you haven't seen this, but the
Oh,
rest
good.
of us have.
Mhm.
Again, a little background. So we know the DC movies have had a rough start.
Nah.
Depends who you talk to. Some people.
A
don't.
really rough start.
Most people seem to think Man of Steel's okay to good. Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad were critically slammed. Did pretty good at the box office, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of investment from audiences in those characters the way another comic book universe like Marvel has done, where they're so present in pop culture. I don't hear a lot of people talking about Killer Croc or Jesse Eisenberg's amazing Lex Luthor.
He's coming. He's coming.
Oh my god. That
Red
is stuck
tapes
in my
are
head
coming.
again now.
Oh, yeah.
But I really liked Wonder Woman. Did you guys like it?
I
Yeah,
love
I
Wonder
really-
Woman.
Yeah, I really liked it.
So, what I guess differentiated? Where did this succeed? Where the other DC movies have failed?
For starters, I think it has the right tone with a balance of optimism and maybe even a little bit of naivety and hope mixed in with the despair that is, the bogged down trenches of World War One. It's a very nice contrast. It's not brooding and overwhelming darkness, if that makes any sense. I think it provides a lot more reason for the audience to be invested. And I say that as someone who actually likes Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman a lot more than most people.
Okay.
Yeah, it's comical, not like funny comical, but it feels like a comic book, especially like the first half. Like it just feel like you're watching like a '90s like cheesy comedy, like a family comedy. That's what I felt like, especially like when they're like in London and like she's like figuring out how to live within society and whatnot. I mean, it's serious at times, especially the World War One stuff, but at times it's playful, and I think it really uses that to its advantage.
Yeah, I hope I'm not jumping on the comparison here. I got a lot of Christopher Reeve Superman vibes from certain aspects of this movie.
Yeah,
Just that old-fashioned, and there's a great quote by Patty Jenkins on kind of cheesiness. I wish I could find it here. Oh, here it is. So she said, or the question was, this might be a cheesy question, and she said, "Did you say cheesy? Cheesy is one of the words banned in my world. I'm tired of sincerity being something we have to be afraid of doing. It's been like that for 20 years, and the entertainment and art world has shied away from sincerity, real sincerity, because they feel they have to wink at the audience because that's what the kids like." So I like that. I like the kind of superheroes don't have to be serious all the time.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have some feel good and have some fun in the movie. And I think that's one of Wonder Woman's strongest aspects is that it's just owning the character.
Something that
Right.
the other DC movies have definitely tried not to do recently. Because, they've tried to be like the dark alternative to the Marvel movies.
I think you can do a dark movie, but it's really tough
Yeah.
to do. If you want to bring those serious themes, the writing and the storytelling has to be so good to pull it off.
For sure.
And it's really hard to do when you've got giant trolls or whatever the Batman like
Exactly.
or the red capes.
Just looks really silly.
It's hard to have
you
a
know.
jar of pee and and then deal with these tough topics. But I do like some of the themes that the DC's talking, especially BVS, the Superman stuff. I know we have some Man of Steel fans in the chat exploring how the world would react to someone like Superman showing up. Some of that, it's just the execution is a little flawed, but I think Wonder Woman found the right balance in terms of
Agreed.
yeah. So, was there any? We'll get the negatives out of the way again. Was there any big issues you guys had with the movie?
I have no big issues at all. Just a couple of really small nitpicks. Like I think there's one or two CGI spots in very early on that are a little. Okay, I'll work with you, but they were kind of obvious it was CGI. That fortunately went away really fast. I also think there's a couple of characters, even though I really like them from the supporting cast, that were very underused.
Who specifically, I guess?
So, this is pretty telling that I can't even remember her name, but Captain Stevens' secretary.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think she was underused. I think she
was
had,
great.
She was great. She had a very spunky element to her, sort of I got like a suffragette vibe.
Mm-hmm.
At least that was what they seemed to be going for. So I think she could have been used a little more. And then
I would have liked to see her fill out like a Happy Hogan Iron Man role, kind of.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
So but that's pretty much it. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I got no major beefs. Jay, was there anything that stuck out to you?
Probably just personal preference. Because I haven't gone and seen like a superhero movie in a while, but it was pretty long. Like I think it clocks in like at 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's 2:20, 2:17. I saw that on the runtime. I was surprised. Very few of these movies can justify being over 2 hours.
Yeah, like I mean, it didn't feel like 2.5 hours to be honest. Like it was well worth the time, but I was just like, wow, this is crazy long for a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Well, the DC movies definitely tend to be longer for some reason. I don't know why. I guess they have more to say. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
But
most of the Marvel.
I mean,
ones are-
besides that, there's one little issue I have with the ending. Well, I'm not going to talk about that right now, but that's about it.
Yeah. So this is a little easier to talk around spoilers than Alien was. There was something I thought they were going to do at the end. There's a point where I thought it had ended. It's tied to the central conflict of the movie, and I thought, wow. And you guys who've seen the movie will probably know what I'm talking about. They didn't go where I thought they were going to go. This didn't end like every other comic book movie. And I thought, what an amazing message that it doesn't have to go this way. I thought that I was so ready for it to just kind of end there, and then it kind of backed on that a little bit and went. I still liked the ending. I thought the stakes were high. I thought the performances and the characters sold everything. I almost teared up a little bit at the end, which has never happened to me in any DC movie. Let alone, I don't even think there's very many Marvel movies where I've felt like the emotions I was feeling, and that's the amazing chemistry between Chris Pine and Gal. I don't think I've ever said her last name out loud. Is it Gadot or Gadot?
It's Godot, I believe.
Godot. Okay.
I believe you pronounce it T.
But they really sold that relationship, and all the performances were really good. But that's my big issue is it was so close to being one step above the rest of those third act superhero movies, and it didn't quite get there.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the third act, what happened there. I get what you're going for, and I think it was still a very important message that it was sort of left in there and it leaves you hanging for a bit.
It still
I was glad they went that. It still works really well. This is more in terms of just general praise for the film. Is it okay if we go there, or?
Yeah, let's go. Let's talk about why it's amazing.
I think one of the major reasons is that, quite frankly, Gal Gadot is just an incredible. I'm trying to think of what the word is. She's an incredible protagonist. She holds attention really, really well, and I think she sells the naivety and the optimism balanced at the same time. You know, it's like when she grins, it's like you can't help but kind of want to smile yourself a little bit. You know, she beams optimism and hope, and I don't know. To me, it was very inspiring.
And you're right about the naivety. Like, just like she's just trying to understand. Like, and I guess this goes into the other thing I was worried about with the film, World War One. You know, we know most of us should know what a horrible war that was, and there's been a lot of scrutiny for entertainment properties that kind of use it as a setting. In the video games world, Battlefield 1 recently. And I was kind of like, how are they going to make a superhero movie in World War One and not diminish that war? But I think it did a really good job handling that, and she really sells that, where she's like, I don't understand, like, why are you people like doing this to each other? It doesn't make sense. Like, she actually can't wrap her head around like these people just straight up murdering millions and millions like that, and that's what makes the whole thing work so well, is her performance.
Right, and in addition to that, using World War One instead of World War Two, where it's like, in World War Two, it's like you've got Nazis and you have like the horrific Japanese internment camps and all this other stuff. It's like there were pretty clear good guys and bad guys. It may have been a little gray, but pretty clear, generally agreed upon things. World War One was just a cluster. It was an absolute mess. It was a disaster on all fronts, and I think that works better in terms of balancing the hope with the despair and the general slaughter that was going on.
John in chat says, she fine as hell. That's Sam's inner monologue.
He's absolutely right.
Yeah. Jay, did you have any more thoughts on it?
I mean, just as it's already been mentioned, I like how the Wonder Woman, the protagonist's interaction with the world throughout. It's like, you know, she's discovering everything, but she's also discovering there's really no good and bad, especially in World War One. You know, she realizes that, like, oh, the side she's actually helping has negatives to it as well, and what she's been brought up as is like, oh, like us Amazons are good and men are bad. She starts to realize like that's not really truthful, and she had to present herself. So I really like the self-discovery in the film, and like basically as viewers we get to experience that discovery and her, you know, her learning of the world.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And I don't want to give away the action scenes. There's not.
Yeah, I don't either. It's really hard not to.
Yeah, there's not a ton of action scenes in the movie, but I actually think that works to its benefit because the ones that are there stand out so much more, and they're incredible. Like we talked about before, there's some elements of campiness to it, or cheese or whatever, but I don't think it's even cheesy. I don't want to call it that. I'm kind of shying away from that word. I want to call it earnest and sincere. And I wanted to like just stand up in my seat in the theater and just like fucking throw my fist up in the air and be like, yeah, because there's just
yeah, absolutely.
It's so feel good, and you feel like you're with her, kind of charging. And I thought the action was filmed pretty interestingly. There's a lot of slow motion that you can see in the trailers, but I think it worked for the movie in a way I don't know that it would have in a lot of other comic book films.
Agreed. It was Zack Snyder influence, but as much as people, you know, try to give him crap, like I think it actually worked here.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like flipping the switch between her kind of regular life, I guess, interacting with other people, but when she needs to hit that Wonder Woman level, she turns it up and just unleashes hell. And it's, I don't know, it's probably cliche at this point, but it's so refreshing to actually see like a woman do that on screen.
Yeah, for sure. It's badass.
Yeah. All right. Well, did you guys have anything else you wanted to add to the movie before we talk about our final thoughts on it? I think it's a little simpler than Alien. There's not a lot of deep stuff I can really dive into there.
Can I just ask a question of you guys real quick?
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen it yet. I'm really excited to see it. But I do tend to like the more, you guys were talking about it, like that fun kind of superhero movie. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Marvel has, it's still doing that with like Guardians and stuff, but like I feel like it's gotten a little bogged down lately. Yeah. So is Wonder Woman more of like that? You know, I think Marvel-wise, I think of like the first Captain America as like more of like a fun you know,
It's a good
lighthearted.
balance.
It's a good
It's a
balance.
very good balance. They've got good humor. They've got, particularly early on, like in the first act and like the first half of the second act, there's a lot of good
Because I was
humor.
worried it's DC. Like BVS, while I liked it a little, it's a very dark movie. You know.
There is the darkness element from like BVS, like into DC, what DC has been doing with their extended universe, but it's much more reined in. It's much more in check. It works really well here.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's more. So I think the humor in Marvel movies work best in some of their newer ones, like Winter Soldier and Civil War. Those two Captain America movies, I really think the humor is more in the character interactions and how they respond to each other,
Right.
versus something like Avengers or Age of Ultron, where it's just quips. And I know I actually personally don't mind some of the quips, and I hope there's a lot of quips in Spider-Man because that's who he is. But I think this is more along the lines as the humor feels natural. It doesn't feel forced. As much as I love Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I felt a lot of that humor was very punchline oriented. And in Wonder Woman, I think it was all very natural, and a lot of the humor just comes from, like we talked about before, her interactions with the world and trying to learn all these people and learn how everything works. It's a very funny movie, but it also is very serious and touching when it needs to be, and I don't think it detracts from it at all.
Earnest sounds like the right word.
Yeah, there's one scene in the first act where Chris Pine's character is like taking a bath and Wonder Woman like walks in on him, and it's honestly like it could come off as like really bad corny, but like it makes sense like in the context of the film because she's never seen a man before.
It would have been very easy for that scene to be cringeworthy, and it actually works out.
Yeah, it works. Like it's great.
Yeah.
Can we just briefly mention how great of an actor Chris Pine is? I feel like he's underappreciated sometimes in Hollywood.
He's great.
I love that.
He does a great job. And I think it's also like something that helps this film out over Batman v Superman or Suicide Squad is there's no bad acting dragging anything down.
That's great to hear.
And I don't think BVS didn't have. I wouldn't say aside from. I don't even want to call Jesse Eisenberg bad. I think it was just
bad writing.
Bad writing,
maybe.
Misdirected.
Maybe bad writing.
Yeah. Like because I actually love him in The Social Network. I think he's a good actor, but it's miscasting or something was just completely off with that character. And Ben Affleck wasn't bad, but I think it was down to the script and the directing. I just didn't feel anything for those characters. I didn't feel any attachment. They didn't sell me on them. And it makes the stakes so much higher when you care about what's happening to those people. And that's why Wonder Woman is a better movie. But all right, well, so what would you guys rate this one then?
Easily, like I'll be perfectly honest with you. I would say an easy 9 out of 10.
So is that top tier for comic book movies then for you? Is there anything that's a 10 out of 10 to give some perspective?
There's a couple. I think that, considering its time, The Dark Knight was a 10 out of 10. The first Iron Man was a 10 out of 10. And then I would say, I had one other and it's slipping. Yeah, but those are the two that I would reference immediately as 10 out of 10s.
All right.
So I would say this isn't quite there, but this breathes some much needed life into the DCEU. This gives it some hope, for sure.
How about you, Jay?
I'm coming from someone who doesn't really watch a lot of superhero movies. Like,
Yeah, well, why don't you give us your background there? What was the last superhero movie you saw?
Last one I saw in theaters was Deadpool, which I thought was just all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't hate me on that, guys. I'm a huge fan of the X-Men film franchise. I think some of them are good. I think some of them are really bad. Whatnot. So I went and saw Wonder Woman, and I'm not a huge superhero film junkie or whatever, nothing like that. But I highly recommend it. It's just a fun film. It does have the third act is definitely darker than the first two acts, and it's long. It's 2.5 hours long, but I highly recommend it. I think it's just a fun film to go watch.
Cool. Yeah, I would give it. I'd give it like a 8.5, which is pretty. I think it's as good as any of the best Marvel movies, or at least any of the best origin movies. I think I really like Winter Soldier, although the third act has some of the same problems, but it's not quite at that Dark Knight level for me. That and Spider-Man 2, I just fucking
Spider-Man 2, that was the other one I was thinking of. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's the best superhero movie.
and
That's
it's
the bar.
so it's earnest, and I love that kind of old-fashioned superhero stuff because they're supposed to be fun. I want to be watching a comic book on screen, and that's I think why these are my favorites and why I love Wonder Woman so much. So cool. Well, do you guys have anything else to add before we wrap it up?
Go see it. Definitely
right.
go see Wonder Woman.
Yeah, go see
And
Wonder Woman.
this is more of a general thing. We know that Justice League has had some serious development problems and production problems. So I'm anxious, but at the same time, this gives me a little more hope.
Okay, so that's a good question. Chris, you could even answer this without seeing the movie. Do you feel like this is hopefully a turning of the tide and a sign of things to come with some new direction for DC? Or is this an anomaly and is Justice League going to be...
Do I think this?
Yeah.
Are you asking me?
Sure.
Well, Zack Snyder's out now, right? Of Justice League? Or is he still doing it?
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, Zack Snyder had to step down from Justice League I believe near the end of filming due to personal problems. He had a family member pass away. Joss Whedon has stepped in to take over and finish the movie, so basically oversee the final scenes and oversee the editing process, but no changes to the script as I understand. So
And the movie is basically completed. I mean, filming was completed by that point, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Joss Whedon stepped in to wrap things up, but the majority of it was done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they had that trailer ages ago, so principal photography's got to be totally complete. So I don't see that changing too much. Obviously, the fact he's overseeing editing instead of Snyder maybe changes a couple things, but there's not going to be any major... he's not stepping in to rewrite it at this point. So.
Well, I would say, I mean, considering you guys love Wonder Woman, I probably will like it too. But, I mean, Patty Jenkins isn't necessarily involved in Justice League. Well, we don't know. Maybe she was involved in it to a degree. But, I mean, Zack Snyder did Man of Steel, which I thought was pretty good.
Worth
BVS,
noting,
which I thought was
Zack Snyder does have a story credit on Wonder Woman, but I have no idea the extent to which...
The extent of that?
Yeah. So
I
guess
feel like he was more involved with the action scenes.
probably.
I feel like that was probably what it was.
Yeah.
I guess it all comes down to, like, if he, like, learned the lesson of BVS and if he... I don't know. It really all comes
trailers are
down to
definitely
that.
more lighthearted, but it's hard to tell if that's Suicide Squad marketing tactics or if that's actually the movie coming through there.
Yeah, let's be clear. If, like, Patty Jenkins had Justice League, I'd be like, that's great. I'm sure it'll be a great movie. But, like, it's still Zack Snyder. And while I like early Zack Snyder, like, I love Watchmen. I like
love Watchmen
Dawn of the
too. That's
Dead.
another
Watchmen's
podcast,
great.
But Watchmen is really underrated.
It is.
Yeah.
But he has been kind of, I don't know, the last, BVS and Man of Steel were okay. And so I don't know. We'll have to see, I guess.
I guess we will. All right, guys. Well, that covers it. Thanks again for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Good
thank
having
you.
guys
Yeah,
on.
thanks for having me.
Yeah. So anyone watching or listening, I think it was unanimous recommendations for both movies. We're all corporate shills, afraid
We
to
are.
call out popular entertainment. But I'm
I'm counting that sweet Warner Brothers money right now.
I wish I have some better production values on here. All right. Well, thanks again for watching and listening. If you guys didn't catch the beginning of the show, this is Pause for Popcorn. We air every Tuesday live on YouTube, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. Go up in audio format the following day on SoundCloud and iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at PFP_podcast. Stay tuned there for all our updates. But other than that, I hope you guys all have a great week, and we will hopefully see you again next Tuesday. Take care.